Y'all know what it is. It's the usual suspect 650-50 draw. Buy your tickets now for your chance at winning half the pot. Cash App, $, usual 50-50. Tickets are on sale for $10 for one, $20 for 3 tickets, and $50 for 10 tickets. Put your desired amount, name or alias, as well as your email address, and your tickets will be set. We announce the winning ticket numbers every other Friday on Supreme Beats Boxing Talk Bullshitting on the Beltway, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Remaining proceeds will go directly to the LDBC meet and greet in Las Vegas. Shout out to the LDBC, and remember,
it's a usual suspect day.
Y'all know what it is. It's the Find the Boxer game. Purchase a box for a chance at winning $500. One of 54 boxes has the missing boxer inside. Purchase your box or boxes by Cash Apping, $, usual 50-50. Include your box number, name, and email address. Your box number will be confirmed and sent directly to your email. Each box is $20, with a 1 in 54 chance of winning. Remaining proceeds will go directly to the LDBC meet and greet in Las Vegas. Shout out to the LDBC, and remember,
it's a usual suspect day.
Yo, yo, yo. What's good? What's good? It's STORMYBMN, and I am back. Welcoming you to Nerds on Culture with STORMYBMN for this Monday, June 16th, 2025. This is number 124 in the series of Nerds on Culture, and we feature a community and culture classic, Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing from 1989, a film that is now a part of not just history, but embedded, engraved in our culture. And we'll get into that as I give some updates on information surrounding the National Library of Congress and their edition for this film added to a list of others. But we're gonna revisit this film, talk about its significance for the time that it was made and what the detachment happens to be within our own society, culture, and community from then to now. And so with that being said, I want to introduce my partner in crime in the show. We got Drew Titan in the building with me this evening. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Salute, brother. Thank you for having me. Like we spoke before earlier today, I said, incidentally, with the climate that the world is in currently, this is actually a perfect time to discuss this movie, what it meant back then, and the impact that it's had on a community back then, and how it's a direct reflection to what the world is dealing with now. This movie started out as Spike Lee, he reflects on the Black struggle. And when we use the term Black struggle, non-Blacks, I've heard them say, what struggle? What are you talking about? This ain't the 50s, this ain't the 60s, this ain't the 70s. You're not in chains anymore. Get over it, as if systematic racism, they don't even understand what that is. And then when you explain it, they say they don't believe it. There's no racism. We had a Black president. There's no racism. You can vote now. There's no racism. You can get any job you want. That they refuse to believe that we're limited in our movement, and where other ethnicities are overlooked, we're just not. That's just what it is. And we talk all the time about the Black people who are around now that don't understand that until they deal with it. We call it their N-word wake-up call. And it's just amazing that you decided to talk about this film, because by now it's old. That's a young Spike Lee right there. And a lot of the kids today never sat through this film. They've probably heard about it. They never sat through this film. It's just I'm brainstorming right now. Did we cover Boys in the Hood, by the way? We didn't.
We've talked of it, but we haven't done a show.
Yeah, we need to do that in depth, because that's also a direct reflection of the current climate that we're in right now that I think about it. So it's like all of these movies are coming around full circle, because when they put things out like that, it's like the other culture says, oh boy, here they go complaining. And, and they always do that with Spike Lee. But when you get a little older, you get a little more wise, and you've been around the world, you've worked these jobs, maybe you're a business owner and you're wondering why you're not getting certain traction elsewhere. You're having some success, but it's like, man, I should have traction over here. What could it be other than, guess what? But you see, we're Black, so we know how to move and shake within the system. I'm not saying use your color as an excuse to remain where you are, no matter where that is. But let's not act like we have to move and shake a certain way because of the color of our skin, because of our heritage, because of our culture, because of our race. So this movie right here, we're going to talk about it, and I want you to consider what we're dealing with in life right now. like the world, the atmosphere, the climate with the president right now, his second run at that seat. You know, I had Trill Will on my panel last week. Well, like my last pep talk. It's like things are shaping up, and it turns out these little movies are a direct reflection of what the atmosphere was. No one watched these films and got better. Nobody. But I land the plane right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can take our time with this.
Yes.
Spike Lee, when he began his professional film career, you know, we did do his intro, which was She's Gotta Have It,
yeah,
which was a great film and a great experience for our show, where we spoke in detail of what he presented there. This film, I don't want to say inspired by, but took place in an opening dedication and acknowledgement of the young brother Yusuf Hawkins, who lost his life that summer out there in Brooklyn city. Yeah, in your city. And it did make national news. And what was really tragic of that is that years later, we would see the George Floyd situation and the Derek Chauvin situation, you know, and many people who have lived through the experience. And you mentioned a very key point about learning from something. See, some of us learn from that, and we learn to even teach and bring our own families together to a point to prepare. When you talk about preparedness in life, that brings you to a point of understanding the climate and environment of which you exist and learn how to navigate. Because the most important thing is survival.
That's right.
And survival is not always predicated on you being active and physical. It has a greater deal to do with psychological and mental, the mentality. Because to have a survival mindset doesn't mean to understand how to go along to get along. What it means is to how to persevere and gain higher ground. See, by going along, there is something stagnant about that. There's no growth in that. But perseverance, to go through something, to have setbacks and to learn how to overcome. Conflict resolution is important, particularly in our community. And there seems to have been a separation from the understanding of that as well. So we find ourselves talking about this film in this climate of today, maybe even hoping to resurrect some semblance of consciousness, because at the end of the day, you matter. Your voice should be heard, your populace should be counted, and your spirit to survive and exist should not go unacknowledged. So, you know, to say that and to understand what this is all about, would you please share, because it was so close, the situation of the young brother Yusuf Hawkins, who would have been possibly your age or my age or somewhere in between today had he not been taken from us?
I was in high school when this happened, when this movie came out in 1989. But I must point out, let me paint the atmosphere for you guys, that for the younger people listening. What you guys need to understand is that back then there was pretty much, it was a movement. Hip hop was different, and I gotta go. You have to understand, this is a building process. The black community was in the middle of an awakening. There was consciousness amongst the young folks, the teenagers. How old was I in '89? It's like 14, 15-ish. We weren't running around talking about kill Whitey or nothing like that. What was happening was that through the hip hop culture, through the R&B culture, the R&B music meant something. The rap music meant something. There was, quote unquote, hardcore rap, but there was a place for it, and it didn't overlap with the conscious rap. Guys like Public Enemy, KRS-One started doing different music. The Native Tongue, there was a group called, the whole group movement with Native Tongue. That was Queen Latifah, the Flavor Unit, all of those guys. And they were battle rappers, but they were also in touch with their African roots. And if they weren't in touch, they were trying to get in touch. Harlem was a different place. They had books for sale along the sidewalks where people were saying, okay, well, if you're seeking the knowledge yourself, read this book. Read this book. Not everybody was running around Muslim and everything else. They were Christians, Muslims, Israelites, but everybody was brotherly. They prayed to who they worshiped, but it was a different, it was different, but at the end of the day, you were black. And again, it wasn't kill Whitey. It was understand what he's doing, understand how you have to conduct yourself. And what we was in the process of doing is taking away the reasons that they used to disrupt what we was attempting to do. We was encouraging to dress better, pull your pants up. Okay, we wore red, black, and green. You understand? Represent, find out, try to find out where you are, where you're from, but be black and be proud. We displayed that in our dress. We displayed that in our music. We tried to display that in how we talked, how we spoke. There was a lot of conscious brothers around. A lot of them. I had a head full of dreads. We was knowledge of self. And in the midst of that, and we can do a hip hop history show. That could be something different. I'm just trying to give you the atmosphere, because what happened to Yusuf Hawkins, he was in the middle of that shit. Pardon my language. And when that happened over there, you got to understand what Brooklyn was like. Where it happened was the Italian side of Brooklyn, where Paulie Malignaggi's from, which is why I went bonkers when he said what he said. I don't even want to revisit that. But you guys don't realize where he's from, that part of Brooklyn. You just didn't walk through that neighborhood, man. Did y'all see A Bronx Tale with Robert De Niro? Well, picture that in the late 1980s, early 1990s in Brooklyn. You couldn't walk through those Italian cats' neighborhoods without getting stared at. It wasn't as aggressive, but in this instance, I don't recall what happened with Yusuf, but he got chased out of there and he lost his life. And we went crazy. We marched in 89, 99, and about 2.5 years later, the Crown Heights riots happened. And that's a whole nother thing. But how that was handled was an absolute lie. And that was the Jewish part of Brooklyn. and how that was handled, because I knew someone that was out there, and I got the phone call after it. I got a phone call when it was happening, and I got another phone call the next day, and they told me what happened. The news weren't exactly clear about it. They weren't clear. I got the real story, and this is all relevant to do the right thing, y'all. Just briefly, what happened there? I'm just gonna give you the quick story. There was some sort of Jewish protest because there was something going on somewhere else in the world, and they had like a caravan. I forgot there's a name for it, led by an unmarked police car. Well, something happened, and there was these two Guyanese kids. Their parents are from Guyana, but they were here. But they're black. One of the kids get hit. One is alive, but the other one that was dying got hit and knocked under a car. If y'all don't know, all right, and this is what I was told. If y'all don't know, here's what I do know. That community, their religion is so tight that even you can't attend to them medically. It has to be their people. So where we call 911, they have another number to call to have their own ambulance and come get them and take them to their hospital. Did you know that, Stormy?
I've heard of that. We don't
That's
have,
real.
I don't think we have that here in Chicago, but I have heard of that.
Yeah. So what happened was their ambulance shows up and they tend to this dude in the car. Now here's what I was told. They was like, hold on, man. Forget him. He's just startled. There's a kid under the car bleeding. We can't touch him because of, my religion. It was like, no. Put that aside. There's a kid under the car. Get the kid. They refused and they started beating their ass. And that's how it started. And that's the story I got. I was like, what? And then on the news, somebody hit, because this isn't the social media era, they had a palm quarter. And you see some brother saying, I ain't got to tell y'all what I see. So they arrested him for inciting a riot. They said it was his fault. But not one time did the news say, because one kid lived, the other kid, they said he died instantly. You don't know if he's dead. They were telling the ambulance drivers, yo, there's a kid under the car. And they just didn't want to listen. And then that's how it escalated. So you had that, and then you had 2.5 years prior to that, Yusef Hawkins. So you got to understand, we're running around following the law, right? Trying to do the right thing, all right? There were people running around the city doing bad things, but for the most part, we were getting knowledge of self. We were displaying that in our dress, our music, our speech. We had peaceful rallies. Hey, man, go out and get a job. Finish school. Learn all that bullshit and then get knowledge of yourself. We preached entrepreneurship. We did all of that. We had meetings. Everything was going
literally
great.
the second Renaissance. The
Yes.
second Black Renaissance, because there was an awakening, like the
Right.
whole thing, like you say, literature, poetry slams, all of this stuff.
If you guys never been to Harlem in the late 80s, early 90s, they were everywhere. They were telling you the true stories about slavery. They was like, it wasn't pretty. What do you mean? Because they were trying to rewrite roots back then. And we weren't going for it. It was like, man, look, okay, we acknowledge that, but now we got to move different. If y'all don't know, that's the true meaning of the word hip hop. It's a meaning behind it. Hip. You ever heard that term? I'm hip to that game plan. That means you are aware. That's what it means. You're aware. I'm hip to that game plan. So now you're hip to the game plan. You know about they're putting guns and drugs in your community. They're messing up your education and everything else. So you understand the systematic racism. So now that you're hip to the game plan, how are you going to move? Hop is movement. Movement in the right direction. That's hip hop.
Just to reiterate what you're saying, even this poster art for the film, there is something very profound about it. Above and below the script, and in the center of it, Do the Right Thing. You see those colors?
Yeah. Yes.
That represent, remember, the movement of Kente?
Yes.
And if you look at Spike's attire, that dress that he has adorned in this show, in this photo shoot, that's how people were dressing. And the people who were producing that attire were people of color. He had the hanging from his neck, the medallion that's the continent of Africa.
Had a few of those. Yeah.
Yeah. With the red, black, and green color in it, scripted.
Yep.
The little girl on the ground that's writing with the chalk. Kids used to do that. They used to play and make images and stuff on the concrete with colored chalks and everything, drawing images and stuff. But just above Spike's left shoulder, it says Bed-Stuy, and then there's a guy with a gun firing shots. The bullets are red coming out of the gun, and there's a police squad car right underneath.
Mm-hmm.
Subtle, but profound.
Right.
Very profound, because that was the experience during this time. Danny Aiello, who was a tremendous actor, and also I believe he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for his role in this film.
Yeah.
And it was very wise of Spike to hire an actor with his talents, because from what I understand, Danny Aiello didn't have a racist bone in his body. He was that type of man who was like very much in support of a film like this, which is why he wanted to participate and received it, even though the role he played was villainous. But it's like he was not that, and Spike was very, very wise to hire an actor like that. But all of it came together to represent something that was very, very familiar. Now, kind of out of the shot, you can only see a little bit of it, the feet of two kids sitting on the stoop, because that's basically a stoop in front of a what do they call them in your city, Drew? Because in my city, they call them walk-ups. But what do they call those type of buildings in your city?
Oh, brownstone.
Brownstones. Okay, yeah. You can see the 4 feet, the 2 pairs of feet there, because that's someone sitting on a stoop. That's a porch right there. This film captured so much of what the experience was for the time. It was amazing. And it's depicted as one day in the life on a very hot, record-breaking summer day. Veteran cast of people like Ozzie Davis and his wife. Samuel L. Jackson was in this film, and he was playing the local neighborhood DJ, radio disc jockey. And his brownstone, his studio was right there in the window of it, and he would broadcast whatever's happening outside along with playing the regular up-to-date music and everything. So everybody knew each other. It was a tight-knit neighborhood community. Danny Aiello's character was Sal, who owned a pizzeria in the neighborhood. And he would come in and with his 2 sons, and they ran that pizzeria, and Mookie worked for him delivering pizzas, and that's Spike Lee's character, Mookie.
Can I point something out?
Sure, go ahead, bro.
He worked for the pizzeria. You may mention what Spike has on. Those are the colors of the Italian flag, but he's rocking that black medallion.
Right.
And there was the conflict, because he's working for this white man who, was on the fence about things.
Mhm.
He had two sons. One son was cool. The other one was a jerk. Let's just say that. Was an
Right.
absolute racist jerk. You know, but that was the conflict with Mookie, and he was content living his life. But he was underachieving. You understand? And, you know, I don't want to jump too far ahead of the movie, but tragedy strikes, which makes him have a meltdown. And what happens triggers the entire neighborhood, the old heads and the young heads. Ridiculous.
Yeah. And before we even like jump into the movie, let's talk about this right here. Because it's poignant. It's very important. The movie opens. This is Rosie Perez, a very young Rosie Perez. And she was known and noted for dance and choreography.
Yep.
The intro of the film, where, if you notice, she's wearing a hot red dress. The backdrop of a brownstone behind her has that goldish color because it's reflecting the heat of the film and her dance routine set to the song Fight the Power.
Power. Yep.
She starts off dancing to the beat and everything of the song, but then Drew and Chat, the choreographed moves of her dance become more active, and then they become almost angry. Did you catch that?
Yes.
That was by design, because we know firecrackers to be what? Explosive.
Explosive.
Spike was so intelligent with what he was conveying with this film, man. It was something that, like I said, you had to be of an elevated consciousness to absorb what was happening before your eyes. And I know I'm a few years older than you, so when I saw this movie, you know, I was picking up on a lot, you know what I mean, as it was coming across the screen. And the movie was just getting started. She plays the girlfriend of Spike Lee's character, Mookie, in the film. They have a kid together. They're not married. And she's trying to somewhat motivate him to do better and be better as a man. But the words are harsh and hard to receive for someone who's on one point trying to be conscious, who on another point he's trying to deal with these people that he works for. And so there's a lot of static and not enough coming together. And like I said, this is at the very beginning of the film. Samuel L. Jackson's character, he is giving you basically a narration of what's going on.
Yep.
And it takes a lot to give, I guess, what you would call insight to what the experience is, because there's so many things happening at once and all together that even now, if you watch the film upon reflection, you might even go back and see some things that you missed earlier, because it's that type of giving experience, and it's teachable. That's why when we talk about the disconnect between young people of today and the previous generation, or you skip a generation and you go back to the grands, you have to understand that creating that generation gap puts you in a place where you become victimized all over again. This film and how it culminates takes us back to the 60s and the riots.
Yeah.
But understand that this film was in 89, and you talk about the 60s. Those who were living through the riots of the 60s are grandparents to those who are in the 89, 90s, right? And that, again, remember what I just said about the generation gap. If you haven't been brought up to speed, you will miss something that is vital to your existence. You remember these guys.
Yep.
The red wall, again, reflecting the heat of the time, not the weather condition. We were told what the weather was. But all of this red, all of this seemingly burning, cinder block, something happening here. These three men, you could consider them elders of the community.
Yeah.
All of them are representative of a certain type of mindset. And the mindset that they represented was very counterproductive. These men were the type of individuals who would sit up and talk about what they're gonna do, one day they're gonna have, but not even acknowledging that their lives is almost 3/4 of the way done. Message.
Been around forever, contributed nothing, but know everything.
You know, it's amazing, brother. It's amazing. You don't even see this anymore.
No. No.
And I'm not saying that this was a thing to uphold. But what happens is when it gets to this point, there's no progression. There's only death, a dying away. So what comes behind that? What you're seeing today. So in other words, remember as I spoke earlier about proceeding and being taught and brought up in a certain kind of way. If you are devoid of that, then you become victimized by your circumstances. Because there's no one to lead the way with light saying, and I'm not saying it has to be one individual, but no one to say, hey man, it's dark in here, let me turn a light on. Hey man, the ground is unleveled, let me provide a straightaway. Hey man, there's a struggle, but if we pull together, we can make it. See, all of that is imperative to what I said earlier, survival. And understanding that, you realize how this film ended up culminating with the type of ending that it eventually came to. And a lot of what I'm talking about was expressed in Rosie Perez's dance during the opening credits. See, I know you guys probably might have thought, well, Stormy started off talking about something and then he went down through this and that and whatever, but I just brought it back home to the point that I was trying to make about Rosie's dance. There was a message. You see, the African ensemble troupe that used to travel the US in various communities, they had shows, displays of culture and message through rhythm, music, and dance. Are you familiar with that, Drew?
Yes.
When they used to have that, you don't even see that anymore.
We've been sidetracked, brother.
Oh my goodness.
We've been sidetracked. And that's why I brought up that Renaissance that I was involved in. Because the reason why those years are so important, because 88, 89, 90, 91, he was conscious, and something happened in 92, 93. Mother effing group from the West Coast came about called NWA. Y'all might remember them. And I'm not gonna, when I do the hip hop show, I'll discuss it in detail, but things went south from there. They looked bizarre to us in New York. They wore tight jeans. Everyone had jerry curls. We stopped wearing jerry curls like in 86, 85, 86. These guys, it was 1990, they were wearing jerry curls. And they were singing about police beating them up and everything. We had never seen nothing like this. They running through the backyards in LA and they rapping about it. And, you know, it fell through the cracks. It wasn't. So what I'm saying is, while we was rapping about things like that, we didn't know about police brutality on that level out there. But while we was rapping about a solution, they amplified the problem. And there's a difference, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to what I just said. While we was rapping about a solution, they were amplifying a problem, and their solution was violence. And they weren't never going to do that, but they would talk about it was fantasy. But, you know, kids are easily distracted. You know, young black men are easily distracted when they're not raised properly. Fantasy is more it's more exciting than what's real. And what Russell Simmons did to rival NWA success, they put on a group called Onyx. And it was downhill from there. But the reason why I brought that up is because we got sidetracked. And we got so sidetracked that you don't even have the OGs on the corner just talking shit anymore.
That's what I was saying about the three guys.
Right. They're
That's
not even there. That's how bad it is.
Yep.
That's how bad it is. Those guys, see, those guys were non-threatening. They were in every neighborhood. They sit down, they underachieved all their life. They probably got a little pension or they on disability, and they sit down all day. They drink and they just talk shit. But they know everything, but they haven't done anything. They know everything, but they haven't done anything. You respected them when they tell you something, like, yeah, okay. But at the end of the day, you're listening to your parents and you're on the right track. But the community is so bad.
Just to add what you just said, there's a great moment in the film when Ossie Davis, the neighborhood drunk, sitting on the stoop, and he sees Mookie walking past. And hey, Mookie, hey, you know, he calls him over there and everything. He's trying to hit him up and everything because he want to get him another bag, you know. And in the bag was a bottle, you know, of course. And he's talking to him, and finally he's trying to give Mookie some advice. Look here, Captain. Always do the right thing. And Mookie say, I got it.
Got it.
I'm
gone. Yeah.
But that was in there. What you just said, that was that scene and moment in that film.
That's right.
Go ahead, brother. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to add to it.
You know, you have to be from this era to relate. See, these kids today, they'll look at this and they can't even relate to this. Sitting on the stoop, socializing, trying to figure life out, trying to stay out of trouble. It was Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. It was, you know, problem with racist police. There's always that element. Racist store owners, there's that element. And you're trying to do the right thing. Now, right here, this is the pizza shop. It's the pizza shop. Now, what's that actor's name right there in the middle? I always forget his name. He's a great actor.
John Turturro.
Yeah, he's a great actor. But he was a bowl of dicks in this movie. a closet racist. You didn't like you have a shop in a black neighborhood, and you just don't like the people that you're serving.
No, he wasn't a closet one. He was kind of on the cuff with it, because he was asking his dad, why can't we just close this and go to our own neighborhood? Remember he was saying
Yeah. And he played that part, boy. I'm like, man, it made your because you know, again, if you grew up in the city, you've kind of dealt with this. You kind of dealt with it. Everybody, if you're black, you've gone into a store. I told y'all the story all the time. There was a Korean store where I lived, and I used to go in there and get followed around by the old lady, and I'm like, man, what the hell?
Hurry up and buy.
Yeah. When I understood it when I was a kid, she followed me and my brown and black friends around the store. But you know who was getting her? My boy Larry, who since passed, and Nicole and Sophia. They were white. They didn't follow them. That woman followed us around. Hey, what you doing? You gonna go to school or whatever? And Larry's stealing whole packs of bologna out there in the morning, and then not even making sandwiches. He's flinging them around at lunch because it was a joke to him. He stole all the time. We never stole. We went in there in the morning and got our sugary candy, and then we left. You know what I'm saying? So I told y'all, years later, I don't want to belabor the point, man, but years later, I'm going in there, and now she's old and hunched over. She had a grandson there. He's all grown now, and we recognize each other. I'm like, hey, man, what's going on? How you doing? Long time no see, whatever. And I notice I'm back there with the kids, and I look up in the mirror, and there she is. I said, wait a minute. And then I went to the next aisle, and there she is. Now here I am, I'm grown. You know what I'm saying? I got my hair cut properly. I was wearing like khakis and shoes and a button up, and the kids were like kids. Like at that time, they were like 1 or 2 years old. And I said, what the fuck am I doing? You see, that's programming. I said, I'm not gonna go there. And what happened was I walked, and they got them some juice, whatever. And I walked to the front, and I put the stuff down, and I look at him, and I look at his grandma, whatever, and I said, yo, and I just said it. I said, what the fuck is wrong with her? And he knew exactly what I was talking about. And I said, yo, I'm literally in my 40s. Why is she following me around? I said, yo, she's been doing this since the 80s. And I said, wait, whoa. I said, you know what, man? You have a good day. And I just left the shit there. He knew what time it was. He's like, all right, buddy, man, have a good day. And I just walked out, man. I ain't got to, what the fuck? Because for a second, that became normalized. Now, I could have said, hey, man, that's just what she does. You're not getting my money. Get out of here, man. Pay for this. And I never stole from that lady. Never. Larry, Sophia, and one more, was it Jeremy? I don't think it was Jeremy. 3 of my white friends used to get her every morning. Whole packs of bologna, spiced ham, hero bread, cheese. And she's following us around because we're picking up lemon heads and Charlie Chans and now and laters, quarter waters. Following us around, and my white friends are boosting her for at least $20 a day. Fuck out of here, man. But I mentioned that to say this, man. There's a level of respect that the store owners have to have with the neighborhood. That hurry up and buy shit. Nah, we ain't gotta patronize with you. We ain't gotta buy from you if you're gonna act like that towards us. If you don't want to be here, you should go to your own goddamn neighborhood. Because every time I turn around, the Hindus and the Indians and Chinese and Koreans, they own every goddamn thing. We don't have to buy from them, right? But in this scenario, there's a pizza shop here, and he's selling pizza to the neighborhood, and son didn't want to be there because he just didn't like it. He couldn't explain it. Now, do you remember when Spike's character had the conversation with him when he asked him who is his favorite comedian or who is his favorite actor?
Yep.
Who is your favorite athlete? All of the people he said were black.
Yep.
And that was interesting because
Teofimo Lopez.
Thank you. Because Paulie Malignaggi had said everything he had to say. The man got on Instagram and told me that Ahmaud Arbery got himself killed by grabbing that man's gun. All right. But I said, Paulie, why were they chasing him? And y'all remember, yo, player, look at the new footage. He was trespassing. Okay, he's trespassing, but not on their property. And what made them the police? And then, Paulie, you found out that they were Klansmen. Why are you arguing with me? But this is a guy that loves rap music. If you ask him who his favorite rapper is, it's not going to be Eminem. He's from New York. He knows what hip hop is. He's not even going to tell you the Beastie Boys or Third Base. He's going to say a black rapper. He might even say Rakim. You ask him who his favorite boxer is, he's not going to tell you Rocky Marciano. He's going to say Ali. He's going to say Mike Tyson because he's from Brooklyn. Who's your favorite ball player? If it's not Michael Jordan or Dr. J, he's going to say Kobe. He's not going to say Larry Bird. All the white athletes and everything and white rappers, those would be honorable mentions. But to pay homage to our community, our culture, our race, and still have that hate in your heart, that's just what they do. And when I say they, I'm talking about these racist people. And that's what Spike displayed, because there was people that saw this movie to say, oh, that don't happen. Yes, it does. Paulie Malignaggi used to dress like us. The fitted caps with the do-rags on. He had cornrows, sagging jeans in the 90s. I remember that. He loves our culture, but he hates us. He loves our women, but he hates us. When I say us, I mean black men. But this was very true to life. What went on in this pizza shop.
Yep.
Disgusting. Stormy, I watched things like this. And there were scenes in this movie that I got roots mad. You know, y'all know what roots mad is? Did y'all see the original Roots?
Yeah.
If you don't get aggravated looking at that, then I don't know what to tell you, man. Listen, I come from a different place, man. Stormy, you remember going to the movies and you watching a film and the black character dies? Didn't that hit you kind of hard? Like, damn, why the brother got to die?
Yep.
Yeah, I come from that. Oh man, the black guy. Oh, the monster ate him. Oh,
Yeah.
the black guy. Oh man, he got shot. And I didn't know the character, but it hits you like, oh. Now why is that? You see, you guys, you young guys today, that don't bother you. But you gotta understand, there's a history behind crap like that, man. But you know, man, I mean, it's like preaching to the damn. Who raised you guys, man? I don't know. Now, bugging out. Now, this scene was hilarious, man. Because that white boy came through there. He looked like Benny the Jet Urquidez right there in that pic right there. He'd have kicked his ass if that was really him. But he came through there with the Larry Bird shirt. And y'all don't know, man. This was the 90s. This was a year before Chicago won their first chip, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bugging Out played by man, what's his? I always forget this brother.
Giancarlo.
Yep. Who's actually
yeah.
but he played this role, did he not? Because I knew brothers like this. There were brothers that were super conscious to the point where they hated white people. I never went that far. But this Bugging Out was you had a little bit of everything in this film.
Yeah.
And
the community is totally represented, bro. Totally represented.
Yeah, Bugging Out represent that over the top brother. He meant well, but someone needed to tell him to calm the fuck down.
And they never did.
They never did. They never did. They never told him.
And you look at my brother here on the left. I can't remember his name, but he was like, "Yo, man, you gonna let him talk to you like that?" You know, just
he's an instigator, man.
Stuff. And Martin Lawrence, who was a young Martin Lawrence back there, yeah, man, your sis is busted.
He talked with the list. Oh, that was funny, bro.
You should make him buy you a new pair.
Yeah, man. That was funny as hell, man. That was funny as hell. Salute
And
Run
then
Run Shawshank.
the sister right there, she was instigating too.
Yeah, man. She
talk to you like that. Man.
Bro. That was funny as hell, man.
But see, what I talked about earlier when I mentioned conflict resolution,
Yeah.
it didn't exist. Because you don't have nobody with a clear head, a cool mind. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, it just doesn't go, you know, and bugging out was bugging out.
Yeah.
And he was looking for somebody to help endorse it. Yeah, Universal, a hype man.
He was a hype man. Yeah.
That's what, and you know what? What was my man name that was going around with the picture of Malcolm?
Thank you, black man.
See, later on in the film, that was all bugging out needed was somebody like him, you know?
Yeah.
Dude, it was crazy. It was crazy.
So
the film has some great, hilarious moments too. So let's not just dwell on the stuff that brings it, you know, your emotion down. Some of the comedy in here was golden, man. Like you remember the guy driving down the street in his like convertible.
Yeah.
He come driving and he playing his Italian music on the radio, Frank Sinatra. And you know they turn the water hydrants on in the summertime.
Yeah.
He was like, "Hey, don't you spray that water over here? You know, you just watch it, you know." And they telling him, "Look, man, ain't nobody worried about your stupid car. Just go on past." And he was like, "Look, I'm warning you, don't you spray that water over here." And Martin, who was right in the middle of that mess, I said, "Ain't nobody gonna bother you, man.
Ain't nobody gonna spray it."
know?
Man,
he rolled that car through there.
they tore his ass up.
They drowned his ass.
That was hilarious.
And
Can't
then
put
he
Sinatra. They bust his ass.
He called the cops. He was
Man.
like, "I want all of them arrested." The cops was like, "Well, who did it, sir?" He said, "I don't know who did it."
Black one.
He said it was the black one. And they said, "Well, which one, sir?" He said, "Mo and Joe." He said, "Mo and Joe what?" "Mo and Joe Black." Okay.
Oh man, that was golden. That was golden.
Oh my goodness, man. They drenched that dude.
Yeah, they bust his ass. Yeah, man. That was if you was from a neighborhood, you can identify with a lot of characters because you know you knew people like this. And by the way, this was the scene where dude rolled over his Jordans by accident. You know, and he was wilding out over a pair of Jordans. And all of y'all know, stepping on somebody's sneakers was, if it wasn't a fight, it was a damn death sentence, depending on who that person was. It was ridiculous. Oh, Young Deezy, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Sidebar, Storm, you remember Higher Learning?
Of course.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, that was another tragic ending. But yeah, bugging out, the scene where he was in the pizza shop. Now, I wanted to go here with this. You remember the scene where he was in the pizza shop? And this is where things get, like, you know, a little sketchy. He's in the pizza shop. You know, pay for his slice. He's sitting down. He's looking around. And he sees, you know, all of these, you know, white legends on this guy's wall. So he starts asking him. He says, "Hey man, why ain't you got no pictures of Malcolm X, Dr. King?" I forget the dialogue, but
why ain't you got no pictures of no brothers on the wall?
No pictures of no brothers on the wall. Yeah, exactly. Why ain't got no pictures of no brothers on the wall? Well, here's the thing. That's his store. And if you don't like it, don't buy no pizza from there. You understand? And he had a problem with that. Now, true, you're in a black neighborhood, but so what? In fact, if you went to a Chinese restaurant, you saw pictures of Malcolm X and Dr. King and everybody else, I'd feel kind of like, yo, bro, what are you doing, bro? What are you trying? That's the scene right there. Those are the old NYPD shirts. They used to be sky blue. They're now all dark blue now. And those are the old batons. You know, I got one of those batons right here on the floor. It's in my bookcase. I got it right here. That's funny. So it's his store. He could do what he want to do. You know what I mean? Yeah, this scene.
What was it that Sal told him? That's what was hilarious. When he says, "Why don't you open up your own store?" And then
Your own store, yep.
He said you could put your mothers and your father. No, he said you could put your mothers and your stepfathers. He didn't say fathers.
He didn't say fathers. He said stepfathers. That was funny. I mean, shots fired, bro. Shots fired. That was wild work.
He didn't say fathers. You can put your brothers and your stepfathers and everything. He
went nuts.
Dude, that was racist as hell.
Yup. Sure did. That was funny as hell too. But yeah, man, he the message behind that was it's his store, but what he said made sense. You don't like it, open up your own store. You know what I'm saying? You know, put your own people on the wall. You know, if you walked into a Chinese restaurant, you saw nothing but a bunch of African stuff up there, be like, yo, what you trying to do? Get our business? But you ain't got to do all of that, man. Just sell your damn food. You know? So you really trying to make fun of us. Know what I mean? So, I mean, look. Man, the gems in this film
I'm telling you.
so real. The gems was so real. But this was a scene where they goofed to, and I forgot that actor's name. What was his name? I forget it. He was in a few movies. I forgot his name, but they goofed his ass up too.
Which one you talking about? Which actor in the photo?
The one that got drenched.
Oh, that's old boy from The Sopranos. Remember? He was
Yes, that's him. From The Sopranos. That's him.
Yeah.
Yup.
He got jerked around on there too.
Yeah, man. So,
but as we get going through here, we must talk about, of course,
Radio Raheem, the real Radio Raheem. And I forget his name, but he died. He was also the Dutter Man in New Jack City. Oh, Stormy, we got to do New Jack City.
Yeah, we definitely got to do New Jack City.
Got to do New Jack City.
Let me write that down. Higher learning and New Jack City is what we've been suggesting here tonight. Let me write that down.
Yep. Radio Raheem. And I'm not talking about the jerk that used that name on YouTube to talk boxing and coon. He got that name from this character right here in this movie. Now, Radio Raheem, there was always a brother like this in every hood. Bill Nunn, thank you.
You remember when he was walking and he walked past those Hispanic brothers?
Yep.
On the porch, and they had their little jukebox radio.
Yep.
And he come down the street playing his, and he was always playing Public Enemy too. And and blasted it. So when he walked down the street and he stopped in front of them, he looked at their radio, then he looked at
battle.
Them, and then it was a battle. Yeah. They dude went over there and turned his radio up, and it was playing that and Radio Raheem hit one little key on his
round him out,
and it just totally dried it out. Fight the power. He was like, "You got it, bro." He went over and turned his shit down.
Yep. You got it.
You got it, bro.
Now, the funny scene, but relatable again, was when he goes to get new batteries at the Korean store.
Yeah.
D, motherfucker, D. Remember that? As for D batteries, motherfuck you. That was funny. Now, here's the deal. You had the Italian pizza shop, and they're just moving and shaking. Now, the Koreans, they had a heavy accent. They're just trying to make, trying to make a living. And the other side to that is, when they line up in black neighborhoods, unfortunately, you have some people going there and they just start goofing off with them. You know, they do steal from them. They do make fun of them. So it's hard for them. And the flip side to that is, if these people are in your community servicing you, at least show some respect. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, a lot of people, that live in the neighborhood have a preconceived notion about who they are and how they treat them. And Radio Raheem went in there and had an argument with the dude, right? And he got his batteries or whatever. And Radio Raheem had two four-finger rings. One said love, one said hate. But if I were to describe Radio Raheem's character, he was like, if you remember the old war movies and their soldiers are marching to war, you remember the guy that used to be in the front playing the flute and the other one playing the drum?
Yeah.
Right, there you go, love and hate. And Radio Raheem represented that person. Harmless, a bigger dude, harmless, but everyone knew him in the neighborhood. Outside of the DJ playing outside his brownstone, he walked around the neighborhood with the music. Now, let's get to what happens. As you know, tensions were high, always been high with police and black people, even till this day. Like I said, what went on in this movie, this was the era where a lot of people had CCRBs against police officers. For those of you that don't know what a CCRB stands for Civilian Complaint Review Board. That means you go in there, this cop harassing me, he grabbed my nuts too hard, or he punched me in the face. Okay, fill out this form and IAB will investigate. And back then, they would tell you shit like, we've investigated ourselves and we found no wrongdoing. That still happens today. Well, the difficulty is now they have body cams and everyone has a cell phone, so they can't get away with a lot. So to the point that when we do catch them doing something and get away with it, then we can say, look, this is racism. And what happened to Radio Raheem, and I'm jumping ahead. Well, first of all, let's go in order. There were scenes where the cops was rolling through the neighborhood and they would just stare down the community. Stare them down. So you knew there was tension there.
You remember the three brothers sitting in front of the red wall?
Robin Harris.
The cops rolled past, staring them down, and they stared the cops down because they was having a conversation. When the cops came through, they stopped talking and just looked at the cops. And the cops looked over at them and said, "What a waste." And then they showed the brothers looking at the cops saying, "What a waste."
What a waste.
It was like they were saying the same thing.
Same thing.
But
so, Robin Harris said, "This is Miller time, motherfucker." Yeah. So something happens. Well, I'm going to tell you what happens. The police show up. Some sort of complaint. And little melee ensues. And Radio Raheem gets grabbed. When they grab him, They have him in a chokehold, which is illegal now. And they actually lifted him up off the ground in this chokehold. You see his feet dangling. And they killed him. And they put him in the back seat of the car. They didn't call for an ambulance. They put him in the back seat of the car. He's dead in the car. And people saw what happened. Now, there were people in the neighborhood in that movie. And this is the part, Stormy, when they did that, I saw this with my mother. When that happened, I look at my mother and she's crying. Do you know why? Because she's seen that.
Yep, she lived through that.
She's seen that. You know, when the other time I saw her cry during the movie? Cornbread. Starring Lawrence Fishburne, a kid, a young Lawrence Fishburne. Okay? And what people don't know is that shit like that been happening. And when we would, as black people, be marching and talking about it, other ethnicities, Asians, right? The only people that vibed with us on that was the Latino community. All right, but white people, Asians, no, the cops are our friends. They're exaggerating. They don't do that. Decades later, now the shit's getting caught on video. They're like, oh man, that's bad. And we're like, no, that's not an isolated incident. This has been going on for decades, man. We told you. But getting back to the movie, they kill Radio Raheem. They choke him with a nightstick too. Broke his neck, throw him in the damn thing. And what happens is Mookie starts having a meltdown because it was the hottest day of the year. He had it out with his sister because that's another thing. His boss is flirting with his sister.
Right.
His boss is flirting with his sister, and his sister has a high-paying job, and she's telling him he's underachieving. He's a father, and he's delivering pizza for this guy, and everything was a buildup. And it's the hottest day of the year. So you got weather, you got people, fussing with each other in the neighborhood, and now Radio Raheem is dead, who's a neighborhood friend. And then a riot ensued. He picks up a garbage can and throws it through the damn pizza shop window. Now here's the dilemma, and this is what I want to talk to you about. They go to Sal's Pizzeria, and they tore his pizza shop up. Right? Now we know Sal is flirting with his sister. It's whatever. His son was an asshole. Fine. But they start tearing up the neighborhood. Now, two things. Sal wasn't really, what do you get by tearing down his pizza shop? I didn't understand. I understood the premise, but was it the right thing to do? The other thing is, by the time they got to the Korean store, one of the OGs that was sitting there, he said, yeah, you're next. And the Korean dude grabbed a broom and he was fighting like, no, get out of here. You're not going to tear my shit up. He says, you and me are the same. And my thing is, okay, because you got to understand, Stormy, what happened 3 years after this movie? Rodney King.
Yeah.
Rodney King. So we had several things happening after Do the Right Thing. You had Yusef Hawkins that happened around the same time that this came out. You had the Crown Heights incident in New York. And then you had Rodney King. Yep. And what happened in the Rodney King situation? We was like, okay, you're rioting, but you guys are tearing up your own neighborhoods. It didn't make sense. You understand? So you don't tear up the stores in the neighborhood. I mean, the rioting didn't really make sense. Everyone had a breakdown. Everyone had a breakdown. What they were supposed to be doing is kicking the police ass.
Right.
That's where, focus on where it's supposed to be. You don't start burning up your own damn neighborhood. So that was just something that I never like agreed with. That's the scene right there. They tore down a pizza shop, and now they're standing in front of the Korean store. And the Korean dude didn't really do anything the whole movie. They were clowning him the whole movie. But he wasn't going out like that. He was like, no, you ain't gonna tear my store up. You're not gonna do that. But they burnt that Sal's pizza shop right across the street, though. They got his ass. Now, Sal tried to, what happened with Sal? That's vague to me. What happened with him?
He just was outside watching the destruction and just looking at his dreams go up in flames.
And his sons?
Yeah.
Well,
that's and his sons were standing there right with him.
Now, in that aspect, the racist son, when all this died down, he could look at his dad and say, see, Dad, I told you, we should never been here. But his son is an asshole. You understand? So when they got to this Korean fella, and I think he had a kid and his wife in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, no, you ain't tearing my shit up. And me and my mom talked about that. She said the part of the movie she never agreed with is burning down these stores. How do they make money? The community. If you got to walk 3 blocks up and around the corner to go to another pizza shop, you do that. They're called convenience stores. And what happens with our community is that sometimes we don't like being inconvenienced. Yeah, I know he racist, but I just want to get this bag of Doritos right quick. So if a bag of Doritos back then was $0.25 or 50 cents, imagine if the whole block was buying Doritos all day. That guy made $100 off of y'all, the neighborhood. Mission accomplished. You got to take back your buying power, redirect it. It's called a community. You know, and these are the things that Spike Lee was leaving it up to thought in the movie. That's why I appreciate this movie. But everything that happened in this movie related to the landscape in which we're living in right now. Think outside the black community. You got, you know, I heard Israel is throwing missiles at Iran now. What are you doing, bro? What are you doing? I mean, really think about what's going on in the world. People getting deported all over the place. You know, I mean, whatever side of the spectrum you're on, we're in some harsh times right now. And I'm not going to get biblical on y'all. Just pick up the book and read it. Yeah, that's the end. You know, there's nothing you could do. They just burnt the shit up. They were lucky they didn't jump on them and start kicking their ass. They just burnt it up. What can you do? Hope you have some insurance.
Yeah, buddy.
I mean, this is ridiculous.
What have we learned since this, bro?
Well, I know what we've learned.
Yeah. I'm not talking about, you know, but
yeah. What have we learned? Yeah, rhetorical question. Because, like I said, this movie was made at a time where we were really heading in the correct direction. And the people in charge of Hollywood, the people in charge of the music industry, they really know how to redirect our community, because our community is very impressionable. And a lot of people are weak-minded. We have short attention spans. We are easily distracted. Like, you know, when the kid is crying, or you remember when you used to have to shake the keys in front of your child and they'll stop for a little bit? That's us. That's us. We're living in a world of vice versa. I see women walking around and I'm looking at them like 20 years ago, that's a streetwalker. That's streetwalker attire. And now it's basic attire. We went from women celebrating their independence in a good way and their education in a great way, while still being honorable, respectable black women, family oriented, understanding the importance of the black family to women being raised to say, I don't need no man, I can do bad all by myself, in which they are. They're doing bad by themselves, but they're still blaming men. And it's a clusterfuck is what it is. And it's messed up. And they're very clever. They infiltrated Hollywood, which is why they didn't like Spike Lee. They've infiltrated Hollywood. They have infiltrated our music, and with the weak minds of the kids of today who are products of single parent households and uneducated people. They're very impressionable, and everything that's negative has become normalized. We go from these honorable black women to every time I'm on Instagram, every other scroll, there's some chick walking around with her butt out.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, who are we now? This was not happening in 1989, 1990, but I remember the shift, which is why we have to do a hip hop show. We have to do it because I can tell you where the switch happened. And I watched it. When Onyx came out, 92, 93, I was like, what happened to Black Medallions and Fight the Power? And we go from that to throw your guns in the air just to rival what NWA was doing. It was a nightmare, bro. I'm like, oh man. And it was downhill ever since. It was downhill ever since. You know, and what we got now? I don't even listen to today's rap music. It's disgusting.
Absolutely.
It's disgusting, but it's a direct reflection. And this movie, if you know the timeline, because I lived through it, we've gotten away from the groundwork that was set. Spike Lee was an instrumental part of that. We had the message on film. We had the message in music. We had leaders back then that we trusted. We did. All right. Chuck D and KRS-One was preaching to the community because we trusted them. We listened to them. You understand? And they would tell us, do your research. I'm going to say this. Now go do the research. And we would run to the libraries and do the research.
You can't.
How we go from that to drinking?
Go to a library now.
Drinking, smoking, and making as many babies as you can. We wasn't talking about that, man.
Dude, it's like they smoke for breakfast now. It's like I go to work in the morning. It's like so ridiculous.
Why do you smell like marijuana at 6 in the morning? I don't know.
I'm driving down the street and I'm smelling it as I'm driving. I'm in a moving vehicle and I'm smelling it. That means that somebody else is driving early in the morning smoking. It's like
ridiculous.
You ain't even had breakfast yet, but you smoking.
And they've legalized it. You know, I walked through a black neighborhood today and that's all I smelled. It's like, yo, bro, come on, man. Come on, man. This is ridiculous. And it's affected us. We have a short attention span. And they have systematically put us in a position where we're never moving forward. We're moving, but we got 4 flat tires. That's it. And they've accelerated that process by way of social media, which is why there's more beefing online than there is actual productive debates.
Yeah.
Productive debates with solutions. And I'm just tired, bro. Just tired.
Hey, man, I know you got pep talk, don't you?
Yeah. I'm about to head over there now.
Yeah. Go ahead and give final words, man, and I'll close it out.
Thank you for having me again. The reason why my face is like this is because I lived through this era. And I remember exactly what was going on. I had elders talking to me, saying, yeah, this was happening in the 50s, and Spike Lee's on the right track with this, and we was on the right track with film and music, poetry slams and consciousness, Grand Nubians, and next thing you know, I watched the decline, man. I watched it, and it's upsetting. And in 2025, we've learned nothing.
Yeah,
we learned nothing because all the idiots we have reproduced and reproduced again and there's no responsibility, and it's horrible. But if you haven't watched this movie, go watch it. I recommend it and learn something. And on that note, I'm going to pep talk, man. Salute to y'all, man. Stormy, we're gonna talk, good brother.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate you, man. Thank
Anytime.
you. You know,
Yes, sir.
for those of you guys that are gonna still be out here after we wrap this up, take that positive energy over there and give Drew some support at Pep Talk, man, because he's got a great subject for you this evening. Wanted to talk about this film because it's necessary, especially in this climate of where we find ourselves in society right now. It's a subject that can be revisited until we drill it into ourselves, our subconsciousness, that we need to wake up and be a people of productivity, positivity, progression, and prosperity. It's very, very important. So with that being said, I want to take a quick moment to pay the bills, so to speak, with a PSA from our brother Junior the Truth over there at the Black Gentleman Grooming Company.
We offer the best grooming products for you, just so natural and handcrafted too. We wanna help be your swagger, your style, class, and luxury. We make our products tailor-made for you with high quality. Yeah, so get in style with the Black Company. Grooming Company, to give you swagger, style, class, and luxury. In luxury, yeah. The Black Gentleman Company, to give you swagger, style, class, and luxury. In luxury, yeah.
Located at www.theblackgent.com.
Yes. And so we've come to the end of another Nerds on culture. This episode was number 124 in the series, and we profiled Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, the 1989 film that was brought about in the midst of a second renaissance for the culture. I want to thank everybody that tuned in to us this evening. If you're catching it on replay, please go back and thoroughly give it a listen, because there's a lot here we've unpacked, but at the same time, so much more that we could have. But we're dealing with a frame of time that does not necessarily always allow us to be as enriching as we can. So we do and work with what we can when we can. With that being said, I want to say thank you again. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. I say peace, love, and blessings to you all, and we will catch you again on the next one.